The Forsaken Heir. Previous episodes are available on the playlist. You can also visit our website for your favorite stories. A link is provided in the video description. Episode 51. If it wasn't for her brother who had been killed, he would have liked to smash her brother into pieces. But regret is meaningless, otherwise, the Wu family would not be where it is today. Elder Wu looked at him and asked coldly, "Where is Yakina now?" Regner hurriedly said, "Dad, Yakina has kept herself in her room for this period of time, washing her face with tears every day." Wash face with tears? Elder Wu gritted his teeth. This woman, why don't you keep her out of the house? Do you have to wait until the entire Wu family is defeated by her before you wake up? Regner sighed in his heart and quickly explained, "Dad, Yakina can't be blamed for this incident. It is her brother who was not doing personnel affairs. She is a victim just like me." Snapped. No one thought that the weak old Master Wu directly slapped Regner. Elder Wu trembled with anger, and said coldly, Man, break when he is broken. If he is broken, he will suffer the chaos. Why could I make the Wu family great? Not only because I was more decisive than anyone when I moved forward, because I was more determined than anyone else when I stepped back. But you are worse. Not only do you don't have the courage of the gecko's tail and the strong man's broken arm, but you drag the stumps to work hard. You know, if you restrain yourself, not only you, but the entire Wu family will be harmed." Regner said embarrassedly, "Dad, Yakina has been with me for so many years, how can I get her out of the house at this time? If it spreads out, how will others think of me and Wu's family? How will I be a person in the future?" Elder Wu looked at him contemptuously, and snorted coldly, "Do you think that if you don't drive her out, your reputation will not be damaged? The reputation of the Wu family will not be damaged? The world knows that Nanshan is your wife's younger brother, the whole world knows that he is your brother-in-law, the whole world knows that his beggar gang is running by your backing, and now he is dead, you still have that woman, the world will only scold you." Regner persevering. Regner was cheered by the scolding. Before that, he really didn't expect this layer. To say that he is strategizing and winning thousands of miles, he is 1,000 miles worse than Mr. Wu. Therefore, if Mr. Wu didn't name many things, he might not be able to realize it in his life. When he thought of this, he was already sweating coldly. It was only then that he realized what kind of bad influence it would bring to the whole family by keeping his wife at home. So he gritted his teeth and said to Mr. Wu, "Don't worry, Dad, I will take care of this." Elder Wu slowly closed his eyes and let out a long sigh. It took a long time before he opened his eyes and said, "Let's talk about it, what happened recently?" Regner hurriedly told Elder Wu about all the things that happened during this period. After listening to this, Mr. Wu's face suddenly became extremely green. He looked at Regner and asked in a cold voice, "A mere Chenbai mountain, a mere couple of father and son who collected ginseng in Chenbai mountain, for them you killed more than 20 people twice." Regner hurriedly explained, "Dad, actually the second time, I wanted to ask the 8 heavenly kings to take action, but they told me that they only listened to your orders, but you did not wake up at that time. I had no choice but to first send someone over." Elder Wu slapped him again. Regner covered his face, but he dared not say a word. After slapped in the face, Mr. Wu said coldly, "The father and son at the foot of Chenbai Mountain are a pair of living people. What is the difference between snatching them back today and snatching them back next week and snatching them back next month? Did you snatch them back today, and they will die next week? If they die so easily, the opponent would not send so many people to guard them in the place where birds don't sh. In that case, what are you desperately anxious for?" Regner clutched his blushed face, ashamed. At this time, he finally understood where he was wrong. His own strategy was correct. He must unite everything and treat his enemies' enemies as allies. Whether it is the Wei family father and son in Chenbai Mountain, the Wilson family, or other people, they are all objects that they can unite. But the fault lies in his own fault. He should not rush it, and he should not mess up with military spirit. The enemy is there, and he won't be gone because you are a step late. Allies are there too, and he will not die because he is a step late. Why should he be so anxious? Sending people to Chenbai Mountain twice failed twice, and more than 20 lives were lost there, all in vain. If he stayed calm, wait till now and wait till Dad woke up. Then Father would send the 8 heavenly kings, and he would surely win with one blow. Thinking of this, he was ashamed and said to Mr. Wu, "Dad, I was wrong, your criticism is right. I will definitely correct it in the future." Elder Wu snorted coldly, "You have missed the best opportunity. Now you have personally done a very simple thing that has become very difficult." Speaking of Mr. Wu, he said again, "The first time is the easiest to attack the unprepared. If you are well prepared at that time, don't underestimate the enemy. You can also win at once and achieve your goal. However, because of your underestimation of the enemy, not only did you lose a few manpower, you also made the other party more vigilant against you, thus increasing the difficulty of this matter. Now, because of your second time underestimating the enemy and adventurously, your opponent will definitely be more fully prepared. In this way, the 8 heavenly kings may not be able to win absolutely." Regner hurriedly said, "Daddy, don't worry. With the strength of the 8 heavenly kings, as long as they take action, the other party will definitely be unable to resist." Elder Wu said coldly, "Who gave you this confidence? You made the mistake I mentioned just now. Don't underestimate the enemy so much." As soon as the voice fell, Mr. Wu said again, "The strength of the 8 heavenly kings, although they seem to be very strong. But in the real world of warriors, they are not the strongest, and they are not even ranked in the middle." Regner's expression froze. "Dad, how is this possible? The 8 heavenly kings are so powerful. In my impression, they have never met an opponent. How could it be possible that they are not in the middle?" Elder Wu said coldly, "You are not much better than the frog at the bottom of the well. The real top warriors are all under the hands of the few super big families in China. Their strength is so powerful that you can't believe them. In front of the real top masters, the 8 kings, when you get up, you may not be able to resist the other party's 8 moves." Regner hurriedly said, "Dad, the kid in Oris Hill is just a feng shui sling. He fooled the local area. A few capable people and a dog on the road followed him, so he dared to get rid of us everywhere. So I think he will definitely not be able to find the kind of super master you mentioned, so if the 8 heavenly kings come forward, the problem will definitely be solved." Elder Wu asked him, "Is everything clear? If there are any details that you haven't noticed, it is very likely that the 8 heavenly kings will be in danger. The 8 heavenly kings are our family's trump card. We must not let them unless it is a last resort adventure." Regner said firmly, "Don't worry, there will be no problem if the 8 heavenly kings take action." "Okay." Mr. Wu nodded and said, "Then I will let the 8 heavenly kings go to Qinbei Mountain overnight to get the private jet ready." Regner asked in surprise, "Dad, no need to be so worried." Elder Wu said earnestly, "You just killed 15 lives this evening, and they will definitely think that they will not come back for a while, so we will send the 8 heavenly kings over tonight, and strive for the 8th Congress tomorrow morning. The King of Heaven can appear in front of them, and in this way, they can be caught off guard." Regner nodded with a face of being taught. He felt ashamed at this moment in his heart, because his ability at this point was really too far behind the old master. The old master is the one who can really make plans and win the battle thousands of miles away. After that, Regner immediately called and arranged for a private plane to take off. It took off directly from Regner and flew all the way to Qinbei Mountain in an hour. Elder Wu also called one of the 8 heavenly kings to his sickbed. This person is more than 60 years old this year, but because he has been practicing ancient martial arts all the year round, it seems that he is just about 40 years old. Elder Wu met him when he was young, and the other side assisted him for many years. Elder Wu also regarded him as a guest, respectful. It can be said that the two are both masters and servants, friends and brothers. They both value and respect each other very much. After Grandpa Wu gave his instructions, the other party slammed his fist slightly and said coldly, "Master, please rest assured, I will take people there this time. I will definitely bring the 2 people back to Suzhou, and also leave the other person at the foot of Qinbei Mountain, kill one without leaving." "Okay." Elder Wu felt that he had finally recovered a bit of vitality, and said with a light smile, "Then I will wait for you here to pick up the dust." Having said that, Mr. Wu sternly commanded Regner, "Regner, you immediately go to Shaoxing and buy their local daughter red with the longest age and best quality, and no matter how much you have to buy, and come back to receive the dust." Lin Yuan, the head of the 8 heavenly kings, clasped his fists and said, "I am very grateful for the old master who remembers my favorite things for so many years." Elder Wu hurriedly said, "Master, don't be polite with me, you are the guardian of Wu family, and a heavy weapon in the hands of the Wu family. I will definitely not violate the promise of the year and respect you as gentlemen throughout your life." Soon, the plane arranged by Regner was ready to take off at Suzhou Airport. Lin Yuan took the others of the 8 heavenly kings to Suzhou Airport in a Toyota coaster. The others are Lin Yuan's younger brothers. The 8 of them went down the mountain and met Regner's father. Regner's father gave them an excellent life and generous rewards, and they also willingly followed Regner's fathers around. At this time, the 8 heavenly kings are all wearing blue shirts and stepping on hand-sewn mullet sole cloth shoes, looking like they are going to a warm place for vacation. But in fact, they are going to Qinbei Mountain, which is dozens of degrees below zero. But these 8 people have deep internal skills and extraordinary strength. The cold has long lost all threats to them, so even if they wear so little, there is no problem in going to Qinbei Mountain. On the way, Lin Yuan kept closed his eyes and rested his mind. When he was about to arrive at the airport, he opened his eyes and said to the juniors around him, "Go to Chenbai Mountain first. I can only wait for success and not a failure. Not only must I live and rescue the Wei family, even more, but all opponents will also be killed, and we will get on the plane later. Everyone is lucky to prepare for the battle. This time, I can't wait to kill in Chenbai Mountain." At this moment, Thomson Villa. It was late at night. Charlie and his wife were sleeping soundly in their bed. At this time, Charlie's cell phone suddenly buzzed twice. Worried that the phone would disturb his wife's sleep, he quickly picked up the phone, and then found that he had received 2 WeChat messages. At this time, it was 12 o'clock in the night. He didn't know who would send WeChat to him at this time, but he guessed that there must be something important at this time. So he immediately unlocked the phone and found that the WeChat was sent by Mr. Orville. "Mr. Wade, something happened in Chenbai Mountain. Liang and I are at your doorstep. I wonder if you have time to come out to see us?" Charlie frowned. There was an accident in Chenbai Mountain, which proved that the Wu family had another idea of taking away Wei family father and son. So he got up lightly and went downstairs to the door of the villa. Mr. Orville and Liang were standing at the door and waiting respectfully. Seeing how nervous their expressions were, Charlie asked, "What happened?" Mr. Orville said, "More than half an hour ago, the Wu family sent people to Chenbai Mountain. This time there were a lot of them, around 16 people." Charlie nodded and asked, "Then, just talk about the result." Mr. Orville respectfully said, "They intended to take the Wei family father and son. The two sides had a gunfight. Liang's and my men killed 15 of them, and one of them escaped." Charlie nodded and asked, "Are your people lost?" Liang said, "Mr. Wade, I lost 3 of my people, and the Mr. Orville lost 1. That's 4 people in total." Charlie said with a hum, "It's okay, it's a victory overall." Mr. Orville nodded and said, "I think the Wu family will not let go of the 2 failures. They may soon have a full hands on Chenbai Mountain. Liang and I have already begun to raise people. Recently, we have rushed more to Chenbai Mountain. But I am worried. This time the Wu family will send their Queen Master." Charlie frowned, "Queen Master?" "Yes." Mr. Orville said, "It is rumored that there are 8 heavenly kings under the Wu family. These 8 heavenly kings are all warriors, and they are extremely powerful." Having said that, Mr. Orville said again, "Mr. Wade, our people can deal with ordinary people. But if we deal with masters of martial arts, it may be a man's arm blocking the car. A dozen subordinates do not matter, but I am afraid that we won't be able to resist it. What happens, in case they rescued the Wei family, I could not shirk the blame." Charlie knows that big families have super masters in captivity. In his own impression, the Wade family had many masters when they were young. The strength of these masters is far beyond the cognition of ordinary people. For the super family with trillions of assets, only the real top master can protect the safety. So Charlie asked him, "Mr. Orville, what do you think?" Mr. Orville hurriedly said, "Mr. Wade, please forgive me. I have always felt that there is no need for young Zheng and his son to continue to live in the world. Your enemies are now using them as bargaining chips and are trying their best to fight for it. Instead of doing this, it is better to use this for killing the father and they will never cause trouble. Charlie smiled slightly and said, if everything is solved by murder, then the Wu family would be dead long ago. Some people deserve to die and must be killed as soon as possible, such as the gang of beggars, but some people don't. It's boring. After Charlie finished speaking, he smiled and then said, think about Ichiro in your kennel. Actually, he could have been killed long ago, but why I keep him? It's because I think this person must live, and there are more possibilities when he's alive. If he dies, many things will lose a lot of fun. The same goes for the Wu family and the same for the Wei family. In Charlie's heart, everything in the world complements each other, reinforces each other and restrains each other. He kept Kobayashi's life so that he can live with his brother Jiro. The purpose of keeping the lives of the Wei family father and son is to let them and Wei appear to live together. If Ichiro is really dead, if he wants to check and balance Jiro, or even Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, he will lose a best bargaining chip. If Liang's heart becomes rebellious in the future, then he can use the Wei family father and son to counter him. This is the ancient art of the emperor. The real emperor would never truly believe in a treacherous official, but he would never completely favor a loyal official. However, it is bad to not have treacherous ministers because they are the key to counterbalance loyal ministers. If he is a loyal minister without the checks and balances of a traitorous minister, then he will become increasingly arrogant and ignorant, and will gradually become a traitorous minister. That's why Charlie needed to check and balance between different people and different people. After all, the Wade family is a top-notch big family. The children of the Wade family have learned the 4 books and 5 classics from a young age, familiarize themselves with ancient history, and study the techniques of emperors. These methods are almost brought out of their bones. Therefore, Charlie shook his voice and said, killing young Zheng and his son means that I am afraid of the Wu family. This is a sign of weakness, and I never show weakness. Having said that, he said lightly, if I'm right, the Wu family has probably dispatched the 8 heavenly kings, and maybe they are already on their way to Chenbai Mountain. Ah! Mr. Orville and Liang were both dumbfounded. Liang said in surprise, they shouldn't be so fast. After all, they just lost 15 people. They should have to go back and rest for a while before making a comeback. No. Charlie said confidently, if Regner could mobilize martial artists, then he should have dispatched martial artists long ago. Therefore, I guess that the man who can really send martial artists should be the old master of the Wu family. The old generation of entrepreneurs are still very powerful. Mr. Wu started from scratch, and his ability, courage, and valor must be much better than ordinary people. If he is in charge of everything behind his back, the means must be much higher than that of Regner. He will definitely be among others. When you think it's least possible to launch an attack, he will launch a fatal blow. After that, he smiled indifferently, and when the most unlikely attack is just after the failure, everyone thinks he would definitely retreat to rest, but he wants to hit the opponent by surprise. Mr. Orville exclaimed and said, Mr. Wade, what shall we do now? Shall we send someone over overnight? Charlie waved his hand and said calmly, if the opponent dispatches a martial artist, it's not enough to see how many we can send, it'll all be fodder. Mr. Orville was shocked. Mr. Wade, what should we do? Charlie said lightly, you don't have to worry about this matter, I have my own arrangements. After all, flying from Suzhou all the way to Chenbai Mountain, the distance is still quite far, there is still enough time to prepare." Hearing Charlie's words, Liang's eyes flashed with joy, and a heavy rock in his heart fell to the ground. "Therefore," he said gratefully, "it seems that Mr. Wade is already confident." "Liang is here, thank you Mr. Wade." Liang is the one who fears the Wei family father and son the most. He didn't want the Wei's pharmaceuticals that he had finally gotten, and in a blink of an eye to drop it off his hands. Seeing that Liang was a little nervous, Charlie smiled indifferently, turned off the topic and asked, "By the way, how are you doing at Wei's pharmacy?" Liang looked straight and reported, "Mr. Wade, the overall development of the pharmaceutical factory has been fairly stable recently, but it has encountered some obstacles in developing new markets." "What's in the way?" Charlie wondered. According to the strength of Wei's pharmaceutical, it should be said that there are few rivals in the domestic pharmaceutical industry. However, for the development of new drugs, as long as a good prescription is found, there should be no problem. But if the prescription is not good, the strength of the pharmaceutical company is meaningless. Liang hurriedly replied, "Recently, Wei's Pharmaceuticals has invested heavily in developing a new Chinese patent medicine. The main effect is to drive away evil spirits and reduce dampness, cool the blood and relieve the core of the stomach, and treat stomach symptoms such as stomach pain, stomach acid, and retching. It has good curative effects." Charlie nodded and said, "Stomach disease is also a disease that modern people easily get. As far as I know, there should not be too many stomach medicines in China. Except that Sanjiawaita is somewhat famous, I have never heard of it. Are there any other well-known Chinese patent medicines for the treatment of the stomach? In this case, you shouldn't be too hindered, right?" Liang frowned and explained, "I developed this medicine because I saw that there are too many people in the city nowadays. Many young people who go to work have stomach problems at a young age, and there is a large group of potential customers, so I brought the team to tackle problems. I found a suitable recipe from countless ancient recipes, but I didn't expect to be a step ahead by foreign companies, and they also optimized our original recipes." Charlie frowned. "Foreign companies? To plagiarize our ancient traditional medicine prescriptions? Don't those companies mainly focus on Western medicine?" Liang shook his head and said, "It's not a Western medicine, but Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals obtained an ancient prescription from our country, and then developed a kind of stomach powder based on it. The efficacy of this stomach powder is indeed stronger than our stomach medicine, so now the stomach powder market has been taken over by Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, which is very unfavorable for us." He paused for a moment, and then said with a little frustration, "Leave aside, Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals has developed our ancient traditional medicine prescriptions. The level of development of our ancient traditional medicine prescriptions is indeed very high. Since the era of Masao Kobayashi, they have been profiting from Kampo medicines all over the world. Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals' background is too deep." "Kobayashi Pharmaceutical?" Charlie couldn't help frowning when he heard this, and asked, "Kobayashi Pharmaceutical was so weak before, is it still so competitive now?" Liang nodded, sighed, and said, "Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals is the top pharmaceutical company in Asia after all. As long as it doesn't hurt the bones, it has strong competitiveness, and they have the best hardware laboratory and R&D team in Asia. Therefore, they can optimize a stomach powder based on the ancient prescription. Charlie smiled slightly. He didn't expect that Jiro really had two brushes. The entire Kobayashi pharmaceutical was pitted by himself for more than 10 billion, and he was about to turn over so soon. At this time, Liang also sighed, we didn't make good use of the essence left by our ancestors. We finally let foreigners plagiarize it. It's really a shame. Charlie asked, how big is the impact of Kobayashi pharmaceutical on you now? Liang said, the gastric medicine alone will have a very big impact. In the long run, Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals is now actively developing new drugs. I estimate that in the future it will gradually eat away our development space. The income has already been greatly affected. Almost all the money invested in stomach medicine has been squandered, and we will continue to research and develop new medicines. If it succeeds, it will be fine. If it fails, it will take us further into the quagmire. After talking, Liang said again, during this time, the World College Sanda fighting competition is about to begin. It will be held in Oris Hill. This game is sponsored by Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, and the promotion is very big. Charlie asked curiously, will Jiro come? Liang said, I don't know this yet, but it is said that the award-giving guest for this finals is a high-level Kobayashi pharmaceutical official. It is still unclear who it is. It may be Jiro. Charlie nodded lightly. In fact, there are countless kinds of magical ancient medical prescriptions recorded in the 9 profound heaven scriptures. There are dozens of stomach medicines alone. Just picking one out can help Liang completely crush Kobayashi Pharmaceutical. However, the pharmaceutical industry is a very profitable industry, so he certainly cannot help Liang in vain. So he said to Liang, Liang, I have a few good recipes in my hand. They can be produced and they are definitely best-selling magical medicines. If I use the recipes to buy shares, how many shares would you give me? Liang almost said without hesitation, Mr. Wade, what Liang can have today? It depends on your achievements. The entire Wei Pharmaceutical is yours. You will give me a word, I will accept it immediately. Liang was also very clear in his mind. Without Charlie, he could not inherit Wei's pharmaceuticals. Without Charlie, if the Wei family father and son came back, he would not be able to hold Wei's pharmaceutical. Therefore, he was willing to completely adhere to Charlie, even if he gave up Wei's pharmaceutical, he would never give the Wei family father and son a chance to stand up. Charlie nodded and said, well, if the prescription I gave you is more effective than Kobayashi's stomach powder, then you give me 80% of the shares of Wei's pharmaceutical, and I will continue to improve it in the future. The prescription is for you to ensure that Wei's pharmaceuticals can grow into a company of hundreds of billions in the future. By that time, your personal assets will exceed 20 billion. The current assets of Wei's pharmaceuticals are about 2 to 3 billion, but they still have certain debts, coupled with the recent poor management, and the overall decline. If Charlie can really enable Wei's pharmaceuticals to grow into a large group of hundreds of billions in the future, even if Liang is given only 10%, he can double his assets. So for him, he has no reason to refuse. And he had heard about it a long time ago that Mr. Wade's one-handed magic pill, if the prescription he took out, it would surely be able to sell. Therefore, Liang agreed without hesitation, and said excitedly, "Thank you, Mr. Wade." Liang has nothing to say. Charlie is not trying to take advantage of Liang, but the top prescription is really priceless. For example, the male magic drug Viagra, its parent company, made hundreds of billions in profits because of this drug. Therefore, if you give it to him in vain, it is simply a mentally disabled person. Win-win cooperation is the best solution. So Charlie said to Liang, "In this case, you should go back first. Tomorrow I will ask the lawyer to sign a contract with you, and I will give you the prescription at that time." Orville hurriedly asked, "Mr. Wade, what should I do about the Wu family?" Charlie smiled indifferently, "I have my own decision, so don't worry." At this moment, there are two solutions in front of Charlie. First, he immediately went to Stephen and asked Stephen to send masters from the Wade's family to Chenbai Mountain to intercept them. There are many masters from the Wade family, so dealing with the 8 heavenly kings shouldn't be a problem. Second, he immediately set off to Chenbai Mountain, personally sniped the 8 heavenly kings at the foot of Chenbai Mountain. After thinking for a few seconds, Charlie decided that he should solve his own problems and go to Chenbai Mountain personally to get the 8 heavenly kings settled. Charlie has been getting the 9 profound heavenly scriptures for some days, and his constant enlightenment has enabled him to continuously improve. At the same time, his body has been tempered with spiritual energy, which is even more different from ordinary people at this time. Not to mention that he has refined so many rejuvenation pills himself, relying on the rejuvenation pills to raise his body to a higher level. As far as Charlie's current strength is concerned, let alone the 8 heavenly kings, even if it doubles, it will not be Charlie's opponent. However, he must go to Chenbai Mountain as soon as possible. Because the 8 heavenly kings of the Wu family may have already set off. Regner is several hundred kilometers further south from Oris Hill, so this gave Charlie some time window. If he is not efficient, it is possible that the 8 heavenly kings will arrive at Chenbai Mountain first. So he immediately called Isaac and blurted out and asked, "Can you arrange a plane for me? I want to set off to Chenbai Mountain immediately." Isaac hurriedly said, "No problem, Master. Oris Hill Airport has our business jet, and it is the world's fastest civil business jet specially customized by the Wade family, which is much faster than ordinary jets." After speaking, Isaac said, "The Wade family has always believed in that timing is greater than anything else, so the Wade family's plane is faster than all the family's private jets." "Very good," Charlie said with satisfaction, "you can let the plane wait at the airport to get ready for takeoff. At the same time, let your Shangri-La helicopter pick me up at Thompson. I will rush to the airport immediately." "No problem." As Isaac said, he hurriedly asked, "Mr. Wade, do you need help when going to Chenbai Mountain?" "If you need it, I will call the family." Charlie said indifferently, "I don't need a helper anymore. You can do me a favor and prepare a helicopter to wait for me at Chenbai Mountain Airport. After getting off the plane, I will use the fastest time to reach a village at the foot of mountain." "No problem," Isaac said immediately, "I will make arrangements. If there is no helicopter in Chenbai Mountain, I will immediately transfer from another place. You will definitely solve this problem before you arrive at Chenbai Mountain, Master." It is good. Charlie hung up the phone with satisfaction, and Mr. Orville immediately said, "Mr. Wade, I am willing to go with you." Liang on the side also folded his hands and said, "Mr. Wade, Liang is also willing to walk with you." Charlie thought for a while, and said to the two of them, "Since you want to go, then follow me." Both of them were stubborn and loyal to Charlie. At this time, they were unwilling to let Charlie go to Chenbai Mountain alone. Charlie also knew very well that if the two of them wanted to be more devoted to him, they have to see his true strength. Especially for Liang, Charlie must make sure that this person has no two minds about him, so he can safely give him the peerless prescriptions in the 9 profound heavenly scriptures. So this time to go to Chenbai Mountain, he might as well let him follow the experience to see the true strength of his masters. Soon, Isaac's helicopter flew to Thompson. Charlie and the three got on the helicopter and immediately went to Oris Hill Airport. At this time, at Oris Hill Airport, Wade's private plane deployed in Oris Hill was ready to take off at the end of the runway. As long as Charlie got on the plane could take off immediately. And this plane can send Charlie to Chenbai Mountain in 2 hours. In contrast, the private jet of the Wu family takes at least 3 hours. Moreover, the Wu family does not have the Wade family's ability to simultaneously mobilize resources across the country or in the world. As the 8 great heavenly kings arrive at Chenbai Mountain, there will be no helicopter waiting for them. At best, Wu's family will prepare off-road vehicles to take them to the foot of the mountain. According to Mr. Orville, from Chenbai Mountain Airport to the small village where the Wei family lives, off-road vehicles need to drive at least 2 hours without snow. If it snows and the road conditions are not good, it will take more than 3 hours to arrive. But the helicopter is much faster, flying straight, 40 minutes. So Charlie still has time, and he can definitely arrive before the 8 heavenly kings. The helicopter stopped directly at the end of the airport runway, next to Wade's business jet. As soon as Charlie got off the helicopter, the door of the business jet opened. What he didn't expect was that it was Isaac who opened the door. Charlie looked at him in surprise and asked, "Why are you here?" Isaac hurriedly said, "Mr. Wade, I really don't worry about you going alone. I'm afraid you don't want me to follow, so I can only do this. Please don't blame it." Charlie nodded gently, "You are already here, and I can't drive you down. Let's go and let the plane take off as soon as possible." Mr. Orville knew that Charlie was Isaac's young master for a long time, so he was not surprised about it. However, he knew very little about the Wade family, so every time he met Charlie, he respected Charlie as Mr. Charlie instead of Mr. Wade. Of course, this is also related to Charlie's unwillingness to reveal his identity. If you call him Mr. Wade, some people may be able to connect him with the Wade family. However, Liang on the side was stunned by this young master. Isaac is a smart man. He knew that the young master brought Liang with him, and he knew that Liang was already his confidant. Moreover, since the young master is going to take him to Chenbai Mountain, he must be ready to show his skills in front of him, so there is no need to deliberately conceal his identity. Liang was shocked at this time. He knew who Isaac was, so with Isaac's young master, he immediately guessed the identity of Charlie. At this moment, he was shocked. He never dreamed of Mr. Wade, not only a master with the ability to reach the sky, but also the eldest master of the Wade family, the top family of East Cliff. The superior strength is already admirable, and he didn't expect the family background to be even more prominent. No wonder everyone says Mr. Wade is a real dragon on Earth. With such ability and background, of course it can be called the four characters of the real dragon on Earth. Thinking of this, he immediately knelt on one knee and said respectfully to Charlie, "Mr. Wade, you are the very noble young master of the Wade family, but you are willing to fight the injustice for me, for my dead mother, and win the family property for me. I am unforgettable." Charlie said calmly, "Liang, if you are grateful and want to follow me with all your heart, I will definitely give you a splendid wealth." After all, he looked at Mr. Orville and smiled and said, "Mr. Orville, you are the same." Orville immediately knelt to the ground and said respectfully, "Mr. Wade, as early as the moment you rescued me from Wu's bodyguard, my life is yours." The Wade family's business jet drew up in the dark, galloping in the direction of Chenbai Mountain at a very fast speed. The speed of this airplane is indeed much faster than that of ordinary airplanes. Even Charlie couldn't sigh. No wonder Wade family can stand on top of China's top family. You can tell from the details of the airplane alone. In important cities across the country, arrange such airplanes to ensure that the family can arrive one step ahead of others in case of emergency. As long as they seize the opportunity first, they have the possibility of winning. Isaac told Charlie, "The young master actually still has a faster plane in the Wade family, but there is one and only one of this plane, which was stored by Master Wade at East Cliff Airport." "Oh?" Charlie asked curiously, "Is there a faster plane?" "Yes." Isaac nodded and said, "I don't know if you have heard of the Concorde?" Years ago, the French developed a supersonic passenger plane that can fly at twice the speed of sound and cruise at an hourly speed. 2,150 kilometers. Charlie said in surprise, "I have heard of Concorde technology, but isn't this aircraft already retired?" Isaac said, "Retirement is just withdrawing from the public's vision. That's because this aircraft is flying too fast, the flying cost is too high, and the noise of breaking through the sound barrier during flight is too loud, and ordinary people can't afford it." However, after retiring, 4 of the best in condition were bought by the world's top big families. After they were bought, these aircraft have always received the best maintenance. Charlie couldn't help but marvel. Unexpectedly, his grandfather still has such a big hand, and bought a Concorde airliner. But this also shows the extraordinary courage of the older generation of entrepreneurs. Regardless of the fact that a Concorde airliner may be extremely expensive, but with it, the father can be 2 or 3 times faster than others at the most critical moment. An ordinary business jet can fly at a maximum speed of 800 or 900 km per hour, but the Concorde can reach 2.5 times that. If there is a $1 billion order, waiting to be signed in the United States, and whoever can get the order soonest, then the Wade family must be the only one to get the order. Someone else's plane takes 11 or 12 hours to fly, while this plane only takes about 5 hours. In other words, he has already signed the contract before others arrive. 2 hours later, Charlie's plane had landed at Chenbai Airport. At this time, on the side of the runway, a helicopter was already waiting here. After Charlie got off the plane, he asked Isaac, help me ask the airport staff if Wu's private plane has landed here. Isaac hurriedly made a call with his mobile phone. After a while, he admired Charlie and said, "Mr. Wade, you are so knowledgeable. The airport tower has just received an application for an exclusive private jet. They will land in an hour, here." Charlie nodded in satisfaction. 1 hour's time advantage is enough. Let's go to the foot of Chenbai Mountain to see the scenery. Then he stepped into the helicopter that had been waiting for a long time. Isaac, Mr. Orville, and Liang also boarded the plane. The helicopter immediately climbed and flew towards the foot of Chenbai Mountain. The time at this moment was more than 4 o'clock in the morning, and because it was winter, there was no trace of the sky to light up at this time. However, a round of beautiful moon in the sky still clearly outlines the outline of the earth. The helicopter flew out of the airport and passed over the city. Right in front of it was the majestic Chenbai Mountain. The outline of Chenbai Mountain under the moonlight is particularly clear. Because the whole mountain range is white, it looks very beautiful under the moonlight. 40 minutes later, the helicopter landed 1 kilometer outside the village. Mr. Orville had been to Chenbai Mountain once before, so he was somewhat familiar with the terrain here. He pointed to a snow-covered mountain road next to the plane and said to Charlie, "Mr. Wade, this is the only road into the mountain. If the 8 heavenly kings at home don't take a helicopter, they have only one way to come." Charlie nodded and said, "If that's the case, then we'll stay here and wait." Mr. Orville hurriedly said, "Mr. Wade, do you want to call all of our men here to help?" Charlie faintly spit out 2 words, "No need." Isaac was somewhat worried about the safety of the young master, and couldn't help but said, "I also understand the 8 heavenly kings of the Wu family. They are indeed strong. You may not be their opponent. To be cautious, let's call some people over to help." Charlie waved his hand and said coldly, "To deal with today's matter, only the 4 of us are present, and only the 4 of us know about it. If anyone other than us knows, they will be punishable." The other 3 people looked horrified. They could hear the powerful pressure and the strong domineering from Charlie's words. It seems that Charlie wants to keep all the 8 heavenly kings here today. The 8 heavenly kings at this time just landed at Chenbai Mountain Airport. After the plane landed, the 8 people walked out of the plane and then left the airport directly through the normal passenger passage. They were not like Charlie. Charlie didn't go through the passenger passage at all, but took a helicopter off the runway. The main reason why they did not receive such treatment was that the Wu family had no influence here at all. The Wu family is a Oris Hill family. Although it is the so-called first family in Oris Hill, it is far behind the real top family. Their strength is mainly covered in the Oris Hill area, and they have begun to decline after crossing the north of the Yangtze River. And the strength gets weaker as it goes to the north, not to mention the Chenbai Mountain, which is so close to the north. However, although top families like the Wade family are East Cliffs family, their national development strategy, just like the United States Global Development Strategy, must be 2 words: comprehensive dominance. The United States is the global hegemony, and the Wade family is the national hegemony. For Wade family, it has the home field anywhere in the country. If Wade's family thought, they could kill the Wu family anytime in Suzhou, in the Wu family base camp. This is the embodiment of the strength of a top family. At this time, the 8 heavenly kings headed by Lin Yuan, after leaving the airport, saw 2 off-road vehicles parked at the airport gate. These 2 off-road vehicles were the drivers temporarily arranged by the Wu family. The Wu family has no influence here. The 16 people sent yesterday rented 5 off-road vehicles here before they went to rescue the Wei family and his son. This time, the Wu family rented 2 off-road vehicles at a high price online and let the 8 heavenly kings drive there in person. After the 8 heavenly kings got off the plane, they took 2 off-road vehicles and headed towards the mountains. On the road, Lin Yuan, the head of the 8 heavenly kings, was sitting in the CO driver. He picked up the walkie-talkie and said coldly, "Brothers, we have to drive more than 2 hours. Anyone who dares to stand in front of us will be killed without mercy." On a mountain road that stretches for tens of kilometers, 2 off-road vehicles drove one after the other. These 2 vehicles are also the only 2 vehicles on these dozens of kilometers of mountain roads. Driving in the snow is not easy, because when you look around, the lights can hit all the places in white. Lin Yuan was dazzled by the white snowfield outside, and said with some annoyance, "That kid Charlie is really a beast. Since the father and son offended him, he just sent them to this bird place. What are they doing in a ghost place that doesn't sh-t? It's really unlucky for us to come here now." The man driving the car said helplessly, "I asked before I came, this Charlie kid is a devil. He not only likes sending people here to dig ginseng, but also likes sending people to black coal pits to dig for coal. I heard that he had previously brought the boss of a listed company to a construction site to carry cement." "What's this?" Lin Yuan said lightly, "Have you forgotten how the beggars died? A dozen people were welded to death in the car and sank to the bottom of the river. The bodies have not been salvaged until now, knowing that they are waiting for them. What is fate?" The driver smiled and said, "Everyone is dead, what fate is there?" Lin Yuan said, "There are fish, shrimps, and crabs in the river. A car-welded iron cage is sunken at the bottom of the river. There are more than a dozen dead bodies inside. Sooner or later, these people will be eaten into bones by those fish, shrimps, and crabs. Small fish eat skin. Have you all done small fish massage at fish spas? That kind of fish, even the dander will be eaten completely, and it won't take long for them to leave even a trace of meat on their bones." A man in the back row blurted out, "No wonder the family wanted to kill him, this kid is so evil." Lin Yuan said indifferently, "We can't take it lightly. Today's battle must be retired." The driver asked, "Brother, do you think there will be masters on Chenbai Mountain?" "Probably not." Lin Yuan said, "The people Regner sent here just a few hours ago. According to the only one who survived, the other party did not have close contact with them, it was all gunfights. So I guess the other party should have no master, just bodyguards with guns." "That's good." The driver said with a smile, "We are brothers. We have practiced golden bells and iron jerseys when we were young. I dare not say that we are top masters, but it is definitely not something that ordinary bullets can hurt. It seems tonight it's just a battle of butchering dogs. You can win easily and return to Suzhou triumphantly." Another man said, "It would be fine if Charlie was here too. We can definitely kill him and go back to receive the reward from Mr. Wu." Lin Yuan smiled and said, "That Charlie shouldn't be here. The Wu family investigated before. Before we set off, the others were still in Oris Hill. Having said that, Lin Yuan said with emotion, it would be great if he was there, holding his head back and returning to Mr. Wu. Mr. Rogers said he would give us several hundred million. The driver said at this time, by the way, brother, since this Charlie is so evil, does the strange disease that the second son of the Wu family developed some time ago has something to do with him? Lin Yuan shook his head, this is really bad, but it's not impossible. As he said with emotion, the strange disease of the second son is really unheard of. It has not been cured for so long, and there has been no relief. It is really weird. At this moment, Charlie on the hillside stood in the snow with his hands full and negative. Behind him, Isaac, Orville and Liang were already shaking in the snow, their faces pale and purple. While rubbing his hands, Isaac cursed his mother, the 8 heavenly kings of this dog day are too slow to come. I think it will be bright in an hour. Orville looked at Charlie and asked with concern, Mr. Wade, are you not wearing so little clothes? Charlie shook his head slightly, now he has no fear of severe cold. Don't say standing here for an hour or two, even if you let him stand here for a day or two, or for a month, he will never get frostbite. Liang also sucked his nose from the cold. When the 4 of them first arrived here, Charlie was worried about exposing the target, so he let the helicopter go first. Otherwise, he could sit in the helicopter for a while, at least to block the cold of Chenbai mountain wind. After waiting for another 10 minutes, Charlie suddenly saw 4 beams of light from 2 cars on the winding mountain road. Isaac also saw the light and said nervously, Mr. Wade, they should be here. Charlie nodded and said with a smile, after waiting for them for so long, I almost fell asleep. Orville hurriedly took out a pistol from his waist, gritted his teeth and said, I want to see how awesome these 8 heavenly kings are today. Charlie said lightly, Mr. Orville, put the gun away, the gun is useless to them. Mr. Orville was taken aback, but after a while he figured it out again. He had seen some skills in the metaphysical world before, including Charlie, who was able to directly order Tian Li. If a warrior with a deep cultivation base can block bullets, it is not surprising. Isaac asked at this time, Mr. Wade, what will we do later? If there is anything we can help, please let us know. Charlie smiled slightly and said, you don't need to help anything, just follow behind me and watch. Orville said hurriedly, Mr. Wade, you can just draw a few sky thunders and cut these 8 heavenly kings directly into ashes, just like that fake feng shui master in Oris Hill. Charlie smiled and said, I'm tired of always using thunder to strike people. Since today is an encounter with martial artists, let's just use force to discuss it. Isaac had never seen the scene where Charlie struck Oris Hill with thunder, but he had heard of it and heard a little. But he has always felt that it should be a coincidence, because he has never seen anyone who can order Tian Li in his memory. Although the Wade family knew a lot of people in metaphysics, they had never heard of anyone who had the ability to reach the sky. At this moment, seeing the 2 cars continuously hovering up the winding mountain road and getting closer and closer, Charlie took the initiative to walk to the center of the mountain road and walked down the mountain. The remaining 3 looked at each other and hurriedly followed. Lin Yuan was already drowsy while sitting in the car, but the brother who was driving took a look at the navigation and said to him, Brother, we are almost there. Lin Yuan hurriedly asked, How far is it? The other party said, the navigation display is less than 5 kilometers away. Lin Yuan stretched out and said cursingly, "It's finally here. Let everyone cheer up. No matter how weak the enemy is, we can't take it lightly." One of his juniors immediately took out the walkie-talkie and said, "Everyone cheer up, we are almost there." The person in the car behind replied via the walkie-talkie, "Yes, we have already started warming up." The vehicle continued to drive, and at the moment when it turned a curve, the driver suddenly saw the light hitting directly ahead, and there was a person standing in the middle of the road. The driver beside Lin Yuan exclaimed, "Is that a human or a ghost? No wonder this driver is scared. You know, they haven't even seen a ghost on these dozens of kilometers of mountain road." It was really frightening to see a person standing in the middle of the road in the middle of the night. Lin Yuan was also dumbfounded, staring blankly at the young man getting closer and closer in the middle of the road, blurting out, "This is really a person." The man outside the car and in the middle of the road looked very young with a smile on his face. He was wearing thin clothes with his hands behind his back. His face was relaxed and indifferent, incompatible with the cold and snowy Qinbei mountains around him. This person is Charlie. At this time, Isaac and others hid in the dark 10 meters behind Charlie. Charlie ordered them that they could just watch the show, but could not show up. The driver looked at Charlie nervously and said, "Brother, there is someone standing here so late. It looks weird. Maybe it's specifically for us. Would you like to drive him over?" Lin Yuan thought for a while, and immediately said, "This person dares to wait here alone for the 8 of us. He wants to come here by no means waiting. Maybe there are any traps waiting for us. Let's stop and walk over to see what happens." At this moment, Charlie, holding the thunder order in his hand, felt calm in his heart. He dared to stand in the middle of the road, so he was not afraid of the 8 heavenly kings driving him over. This thundering order can attract sky thunders at any time. If the 8 heavenly kings don't get out of the car, they face the gongs and the drums, and then he can directly use 2 sky thunders to split their car down the cliff and end the battle. Fortunately, Lin Yuan did not underestimate the enemy, and the 2 cars slowly stopped at a distance of more than 10 meters from Charlie. Afterwards, the 8 heavenly kings all got off. Lin Yuan strode to the front, looking at Charlie through the car lights, and said coldly, "Boy, who are you? Dare to block 8 heavenly kings?" Charlie smiled slightly and said, "My surname is Wade, my name is Charlie, and the most famous live-in son-in-law in Oris Hill is me." Lin Yuan was shocked. When he was in the car just now, he was still talking about Charlie. Everyone was still thinking, if Charlie was here, it would be nice to kill him all at once. But they never dreamed that he would actually appear here. And this seems a bit unreasonable. When he set off, he was still in Oris Hill. Why did he arrive earlier than them? This doesn't seem possible. However, he quickly put this question behind his head, looked at Charlie, and asked in a cold voice, "The surname Wade, did you know that we would be here?" "That's right." Charlie smiled lightly and said, "I thought the 8 heavenly kings are some great people. I didn't expect them to be 8 old gentlemen. You 8 should be 400 years old together?" The 8 brothers of Lin Yuan are indeed quite old, and the youngest one is already over 50 years old, so the total of the 8 people is over 400 years old. At this time, Seeing him and his juniors being so despised by Charlie, Lin Yuan said in a cold voice of dissatisfaction, "Today, I didn't want to take your life, but I still want to keep your dog and wait for my senior brother. People go to Oris Hill and take the head of your item personally. I didn't expect that there is a way to heaven, you won't go, and there is no way to hell, you will break in. That's fine, lest we go to Oris Hill ourselves again." Charlie smiled and said, "Take my head? It depends on whether you have this ability. Stop talking nonsense." Lin Yuan snorted coldly, and said, "Charlie, my 8 heavenly kings are definitely not a vain name. I have not been able to win over the few for dozens of years. Today I let my youngest brother fight for the 8 of me. He is known as King Lion of Iron Fist, and you will die under his hands. He will not lose in this life." After listening to Charlie, with a scornful smile, he sneered, "Iron Fist? Very good, today you have the opportunity, it is also the good fortune you cultivated in several lifetimes." At this time, a strong middle-aged man among the 8 great heavenly kings screamed, walked to the front, pointed at Charlie and shouted angrily, "Little boy, you are worthy of killing me? Watch me blow your dog's head with a punch." After all, his feet rushed toward Charlie like a wind. The fist that was bigger than the mouth of the bowl was already in front of you at this time. He has been practicing boxing for dozens of years, and his whole life of martial arts and hard work has been condensed on a pair of fists. Only this punch is a stone monument more than 10 centimeters thick. It can also be broken with one punch, which can be resisted. But Charlie had already seen through his cultivation at a glance. Just a brash man with a harder fist. Compared with him and the worm that shakes the tree, it is no different. So he did not dodge or dodge, just standing in front of Iron Fist, with a chilling smile on his face. Tekken Iron Fist couldn't believe that this kid should be so despised. He had rushed in front of him, ready to blow his dog's head with a punch, but he was not afraid at all. This is looking down on himself. In that case, let you taste the price of despising your Grandpa Li. Afterwards, he rushed to Charlie, and his iron fist rushed straight to Charlie's head and smashed it. With a smile on his face, Lin Yuan said indifferently, "The 8th junior brother is really lucky this time, and he did so for nothing. I believe Mr. Orville will definitely reward him." The other juniors all showed envy. In their opinion, the 8th junior brother can have such a chance, entirely because the senior brother has perfected. This kid with the weight is so stupid, he can be killed with one blow instead of being himself. Isaac, Mr. Orville, and Li Yang, who were hiding in the dark, all squeezed a cold sweat for Charlie. They didn't understand, why didn't Charlie hide? But only Charlie knew that there was absolutely no need to hide from Iron Fist's cat. At this point, Iron Fist's fist wind has blown his face. Immediately afterwards, the fist was already in sight. At the moment when Iron Fist thought Charlie was going to die, Charlie suddenly pulled out a hand from his back, a fist that seemed weak, but lightly faced him. In the next moment, Iron Fist felt his fist was hit by a hard armor-piercing shell. Only a sharp pain was felt, followed by the sound of broken bones. Charlie's fluttering punch not only directly unloaded all the strength of Iron Fist's fist, it was extremely powerful, and it also shattered the opponent's right fist, right hand, and right arm. Iron Fist instantly let out a tragic cry, and the whole person flew upside down, and fell into the snow with a thump. His 7 seniors were looking at him dumbfounded at this time, and saw that his entire right arm was already bloody and hanging, like a mass of rotten meat that had been blown up by 10,000 tons of boulders. He is the Iron Fist. His fist can't be smashed even if it is a hard rock. Anyone's body is as vulnerable as tofu under his fist. But, why in front of Charlie's fist, his iron fist turned into tofu? It was smashed by Charlie's punch. Who is the Iron Fist of these 2 people? Seeing that junior brother was defeated in an instant, Lin Yuan was struck by lightning. Although his strength is better than that of the 8th junior brother, his fist is much worse than the 8th junior brother's iron fist. After all, the 8th junior brother himself, for decades, all his thoughts have been concentrated on his pair of iron fists, and he has never encountered an opponent in the world. But who would have thought that a young man in his 20s would smash his fist and his arm with one punch? How powerful is this, even great force? Lin Yuan was terrified. It seems that Charlie is really not an ordinary person. But today, 8 of his senior brothers are indispensable for a fierce battle. Isaac and others were also surprised. The 3 of them never dreamed that Charlie's strength would be so great. The other party is also a man with a face, and even if Charlie fights him for more than a dozen rounds and then defeats him, it can be regarded as the past. But Charlie was so unreasonable, and he smashed the iron fist with a single move. This meaning is very obvious: he's an iron fist, then he will hit the iron fist. When Iron Fist was smashed to the ground, the whole person was even more shocked. He didn't expect that the place where he was most confident and powerful would be fragile in front of others. Seeing that his right arm had been rotten to flesh, he knew in his heart that his skill had been lost in half. After decades of hard work, he was beaten by a 50% discount. Iron Fist felt extremely painful. He crawled to Lin Yuan with one arm, crying and said, "Big brother, you must avenge me." Lin Yuan darkened his face and nodded gloomily. "Senior brother 8th, don't worry, your brothers will definitely avenge you." After all, he said to the other 6 people, "Junior brothers, this kid is really good. In that case, I don't have to talk to him about morals and justice, everyone." When Charlie heard this, he laughed. What he said just now is that the 8 heavenly kings are definitely not a mere name. There are dozens of them in the world, not more than that, but he didn't expect it to be just a nonsense. He knew this: with 8 it's better to go with an old dog, and it will make Grandpa and him have a good time. Lin Yuan felt that his face was very hot, and said angrily, Don't you play with me any kind of stimulating method here? You can hurt my 8th junior brother, and absolutely can't hurt my 7 brothers. Today, Lin Yuan asked you for your dog life in Chenbai Mountain. After that, he said coldly, "But you can rest assured, I will only leave your body in Chenbai Mountain, and your head, I will take your head and return to the old master of the Wu family. If the old master of the Wu family pity you, maybe give your head to your wife." Charlie heard this and said coldly, "Lin Yuan, right? Don't worry, today your 8 senior brothers will sleep here. But I won't take your head away, because you are an old rag. It's not worth it for me to take your head." What a big tone! Lin Yuan yelled angrily, "We 8 brothers have never failed since the day we played as a teacher. There are countless injustices in our hands. I don't care if we have one more. Charlie smiled and said lightly, "Today, I want to avenge your many unjust souls." Lin Yuan gritted his teeth and shouted coldly, "Junior brothers, kill this kid with me. We will use his head to sacrifice the right arm of the eighth brother." As soon as the voice fell, the other 6 people swarmed with him. Charlie stood on the spot, with his left hand behind him and his right hand in front of him. At this moment, all the spiritual energy in his body was condensed in his right hand without any trace. At this time, he was faintly excited deep in his heart, and the blood in his body had begun to boil. Since getting the 9 profound heavenly scriptures, Charlie has never encountered a truly powerful top master. He is still in metaphysics, although he has some accomplishments, but in fact, he can't bear the shock of thunder. As for the rag like Oliver Vincent, at best, it is a gangster who commits crimes, and there is no such thing as a master. But these 8 heavenly kings are really interesting. Just the punch of the iron fist just now, if it hit that fake master in the Oris Hill, it would really blow his dog's head with one punch. If Oliver Vincent was in front of him, he couldn't carry it back and forth. But even so, Iron Fist was still too weak in front of Charlie. Now that the 7 people go together, they have a little fighting power. At this time, Lin Yuan took the lead. His 7 junior and senior brothers followed him step by step. The 7 people have already set their formations, ready to take Charlie's life. Lin Yuan came to Charlie, his body strength came out of his groin, gathered his hands, and then made a leap, his palms rushed towards Charlie. This Lin Yuan is the best at hand. The worst time in his life, a crazy adult male elephant was killed with one palm. This palm technique looks soft, but it can contain incomparable strength, which is many times more advanced than a boxing. Whether in the world of martial arts or in martial arts novels, master weight is truly top-notch. Guojing has 18 palms of descending dragon, Yang Kuiyu has the palms of ecstasy, and Xiao Ao has 6 palms of Tian Shan. In addition, there are the palms of the god Xianming, the palm of the Buddha, the palm of the cold ice, and the palm of the bone. In martial arts novels, there are so many fascinations about palm, and it can be seen that palm is the most unpredictable pulse among martial artists. Lin Yuan's palm skills are superb and very powerful, and even looking at the entire Oris Hill, he can't find a master who can compete with Lin Yuan. In addition, there are 6 juniors behind him who are blessed, and this time he is ready to kill Charlie with a single blow. But, unexplainably, Charlie is still calm and unspeakable. He stood here quietly, without moving a moment, and said leisurely, "I admire your undaunted spirit, but fierceness is one thing, strength is another matter." Lin Yuan had already played 10% of his skill at this time. It's like a cannonball that has been out of the chamber, with unstoppable momentum. He can already conclude at this time that even if Charlie is a master of martial arts, this palm is enough to kill him. So, he shouted coldly, "Boy! You're looking for death. Watch me abolish your meridians." Just when Lin Yuan's palm was less than half a meter away from him, Charlie narrowed his eyes, and took a step forward casually, saying indifferently, "Lin Yuan, you are good at palm skills. Then I will let you try my palm." After that, he turned his right hand into his palm, and with full aura, he greeted Lin Yuan unhurriedly. Lin Yuan's palm contained a mighty force, which was unstoppable. However, when Charlie greeted him with a soft palm, he suddenly felt that he was hitting a mountain with a palm. What he didn't know was that Charlie's palm contained an aura that he had never heard of. Spiritual energy is between the heaven and the earth, the most refined, pure, strong and yang, even the strongest. How did Lin Yuan know Charlie's strength? Seeing that Charlie didn't move like a mountain in the first half, but in the second half, he just slapped softly, thinking that this kid was negligent and would be hit hard by himself. However, at the moment when he really met Charlie's palm, Lin Yuan realized that his palm, instead of allowing Charlie to retreat in the slightest, bounced back with a tremendous amount of strength, instantly squeezing his right arm. Also beaten to powder. He didn't expect that his fate would be the same as the 8th junior brother. Seeing that the right arm was already in flesh and blood, and he didn't care about the injury at all, because his whole body had been flew out by this huge force projectile, back several meters. Lin Yuan retreated quickly while trying to stop his figure in the snow with his legs. But the power of Charlie's palm was so great that he couldn't support his legs at all, so he could only allow himself to keep retreating. The 6 juniors were shocked when they saw this. They are very clear about the strength of the big brother. If he is allowed to hit a palm with 10 successful powers, even a top expert must be prepared to be able to handle it. Even, it is likely to be embarrassed because of the big brother's palm. But who would have thought that Charlie didn't rush, and attacked with one hand, hitting the big brother like a cannonball back after another. One of them hurriedly shouted, "Quick! Let go of your strength for the big brother." Only then did the other 5 people came to their senses. The 6 hurriedly stood in 2 rows behind Lin Yuan and tried their best to lend him strength from behind. However, he did not expect that the speed of his retreat could be called a powerful force. At this moment, what his body carries is the aura that Charlie slapped. Everyone was suffering from severe pain in their arms one after another. 7 people came to relieve their strength, but they all flew upside down several meters away and crashed to the ground. What is even more tragic is that 3 of them directly smashed their 8th junior brother, that is, Iron Fist. The huge force directly smashed the Iron Fist, and vomited blood. Charlie's aura is full of power, Lin Yuan is the first to bear the brunt, and the whole person is heavily smashed into the snow, like mud, unable to move. How is this possible? Lin Yuan observed at Charlie in disbelief, his face was amazed. He is an expert in martial arts who came from the hidden Xizang sect, and he is invincible across the entire region. If it wasn't for the old master of the Wu family, and the other party's heavy invitation, with his powerful strength, how could he be willing to stick to this small pond in the south of the Yangtze River? He asked himself, in his life, he has seen too many opponents, but he has never felt as powerless as now. At this moment, he didn't even see how this kid made the move, and he was hit hard. For a warrior, nothing is more important than the arm, especially the right arm. When the right arm is broken, the person is broken. What master to talk about? Non-existent. After all, Yang Guo is just a character in martial arts novels. In reality, he has never seen a one-armed master. Because, in the case of one-armed, the body is always in a state of imbalance, let alone fighting with others, even running will have obvious weight imbalance, if a person's body center of gravity cannot be in the center of the body, then he has no chance to become a master. Charlie retreated 7 people with a palm, making the 8 heavenly kings feel astonished. What kind of strength can achieve this incredible level? Even the top masters in this world can't have such a powerful strength. After all, the 8 heavenly kings are not vegetarians. If they and the brothers work together, they will have an effect of 1 + 1 greater than 2. But even so, the total of the 8 heavenly kings is nothing more than a punch in a palm by Charlie. Lin Yuan got up with difficulty and blurted out, "Who are you? Where did you come from? Who did you learn from?" Charlie sneered and said, "I don't have a teacher, and I learn from myself." "Why, are you not convinced?" Lin Yuan swallowed his saliva and said nervously, "Serve. I'll take it. I really take it. Mr. Wade, you are the top master in this world. You must know that martial arts are not easy to practice, so please look at us. Brother, we know our mistakes and make corrections, spare us." Charlie smiled and said, "Are you sparing my life so soon? Why don't you play cards according to your routine?" Lin Yuan said with difficulty, "I know that my skills are not as good as yours, and I don't want to do unnecessary struggles. I just asked Mr. Wade to raise hand." Charlie asked back, "You wanted to kill me when you came, but you can't kill me now. Just beg me to raise my hand. Is this world so beautiful? That's because I am incapable of you. I begged you not to kill me. Will you agree?" Lin Yuan's expression was ugly. He knew Charlie couldn't let him go so easily. So he knelt down immediately and said to Charlie, "Mr. Wade, if you are willing to raise your noble hand, my 8 brothers will respect you in this life and listen to your orders." Charlie smiled playfully, looked at him and asked, "What? Now reverting? Then how do you go back to Mr. Wu's life?" Lin Yuan said earnestly, "As the saying goes, good birds choose trees to live. I know that Mr. Wade has great magical powers, and am willing to abandon the dark and cast the light, and follow Mr. Wade all my life." Charlie nodded indifferently. He slowly walked towards Lin Yuan and others. No one knew what he was thinking at this time. Seeing him getting closer, Lin Yuan nervously said to the juniors, "Quick! Kneel down and worship Mr. Wade." As a result, the 8 great heavenly kings got up one after another and bowed to Charlie. Even the Iron Fist, whose right arm was abolished, knelt on the ground and kowtowed. And Lin Yuan, at this moment, retracted his left hand into his sleeve and held a dagger in his hand calmly. This dagger is only a bunch long, and it stands to reason that it is not very lethal, especially for masters. However, Lin Yuan's dagger came from an extraordinary origin. He not only tempered the blade with highly toxic substances, but also smeared a small amount of radioactive powder on the blade. This kind of small amount of radioactive powder does not cause much radiation to humans if it is not contacted, but once it is exposed to this radioactive powder and the wound enters the body will not heal for a long time. It is also the ultimate move that Lin Yuan has been hiding for many years. Except for his juniors, everyone who has seen this dagger is dead. Charlie abolished his right arm. This hatred is not shared. Therefore, it is impossible for him to bow to Charlie at all. The reason for saying this is just because he is young, and guesses that he has no experience in the world, and is ready to convince him to stabilize him first, and then take the opportunity to sneak attack with stigma. Fight for one hit. Although Charlie was young, he didn't feel like he was shocked. Lin Yuan thought he had deceived him, but in fact he had been guarding these 8 people from beginning to end. Because, for Charlie, he was not even ready to subdue these 8 people for his own use. As for the reason, it's just that they simply don't look down on these people. With their strength, even if you really respect it, what can you do for yourself? It's nothing more than 8 dogs with sharp teeth. Charlie is not looking for such a dog. However, with a playful smile on his face, he walked in front of the 8 heavenly kings. Do you really want to respect me when you wait? Lin Yuan took the lead, and the 8 people shouted in unison, we would like to bow down to Mr. Wade for the rest of our lives. Charlie nodded and asked with a light smile, if I don't let you worship, what shall you do? This Lin Yuan and others were dumbfounded, never dreaming that Charlie would give such an answer. Don't let me worship? Are you acting like that? Lin Yuan thought to himself that he was ready to attack Charlie. So he knelt and walked forward, crawling all the way to Charlie's feet, bowing his head under his feet, and choked with his mouth, Mr. Wade, I have never served anyone in this life. You are the only one that I can admire from the bottom of my heart. Yes. Please show your compassion and give me and my juniors an opportunity to saddle you. Although our brothers are tens of thousands of miles worse than you, they are still in this world. Can be regarded as a master, please don't dislike us Mr. Wade. Charlie sneered, after saddling for me, the test is not the strength, but the level of character. For someone with poor character, there will never be any chance with me. After that, he looked at Lin Yuan and said coldly, look at you, with protruding teeth, long tongues and cheekbones that are not fleshy and sharp. At first glance, it is the most typical face of a villain. A person like you is a little brother, you don't want to face mother? Lin Yuan didn't expect that he would kneel down and kowtow to Charlie. This guy even mocked and ridiculed him, which is absolutely horrible. At this point, when he saw Charlie's arrogant expression and his hands behind him, he knew that he had a chance to kill with one blow. So he suddenly attacked Charlie, revealing a sharp black dagger in his left hand, and rushed directly to Charlie's legs. Charlie looked at him with a sneer on his face, without any dodge, and stood motionless and said, come on, I'll stand still and let you poke. Lin Yuan didn't expect that Charlie had already seen through it, and he didn't expect this kid to be so underestimated that he didn't even dodge. If the highly toxic and radioactive powder smeared on this blade, if it sticks to the skin, he will definitely die. It seems that after all, this kid is inexperienced in the arena, and it is really a pity. So he smiled grimly, and said coldly, bad son, scrap my right arm, and said that my face is like a villain, and today I will let you take your life to apologize. After all, the blade was moved to pierce Charlie. But something strange happened soon. He never dreamed that when his blade was less than 1 millimeter away from Charlie's leg, it seemed to have touched an invisible wall. Even if he exhausted all his energy, he couldn't make the blade move forward. What is going on here? Lin Yuan couldn't understand. Charlie obviously didn't reach out his hand to stop him, so why couldn't he stab him? What is the power that is invisibly blocking him? As a martial artist, he has practiced martial arts to the extreme, but they don't understand what a real magical power is. How did he know that there is still a kind of power in this world that can be transmitted without the body? This kind of power is spiritual energy. It's like even though Oris Hill is a master of metaphysics, who knows Miao's Gu technique and can control Gu worms, he doesn't know that there is another magical power in this world that can summon sky thunder. Therefore, it is never strength to defeat a person, but arrogance. Lin Yuan thought that he had found Charlie's fate, and that he would surely kill him with one blow. This was his arrogance. And now, he has to pay for his arrogance. Charlie sneered, gently lifted his foot, and stepped his left arm under his foot. Then, Charlie's toes were slightly harder, and Lin Yuan's left arm was crushed directly from the elbow, and the upper arm was connected to the forearm with only the clothes left. He wailed in pain, and hurriedly wanted to withdraw and retreat. With a little effort, he tore his clothes. Then looked again, and was horrified to find that his forearm and left hand were on the other side of Charlie's foot. Charlie looked at him and sneered, "The surname Fan, I really didn't make a mistake. You are a natural villain. Leaving you like this will only harm the world." Lin Yuan trembled in fright, and his legs couldn't help retreating, but he knew very well in his heart that with his current situation, he was already unable to retreat. Where to go back? Can't run, the car can't drive, and he can't fly. Maybe, let his juniors resist for a while, maybe he can win a chance to escape. So he yelled, "All the juniors and disciples listen to the orders. I am waiting for today is the critical moment of life and death. If we can't work together to punish this dog thief, we will die here. I also hope that all the juniors will go all out. Make a way out." When the other 7 heard this, their expressions suddenly shrank. They are also very clear that today's battle will be a battle of life and death. So everyone got up and rushed towards Charlie desperately. At this time, Lin Yuan continued to back up, then turned around to escape. Charlie just kicked a person away, and immediately saw Lin Yuan want to escape. He grabbed the person in front of him with one hand, and threw him out in the direction of Lin Yuan. It was Lin Yuan's 3rd junior brother who was thrown out by Charlie. These 3 juniors have been practicing iron head skills for many years, and their bald heads are as hard as iron. At this moment, his entire head was facing Lin Yuan's waist, like a cannonball out of the chamber, rushing out instantly. Immediately afterwards, his iron head slammed on Lin Yuan's back waist. With only a click, Lin Yuan's spine was hit by the head of the 3rd junior brother and broke into 2. The moment Lin Yuan fell to the ground, his lower body was completely unaware. Using the remaining upper arm of his left arm, he turned over with difficulty and looked at the poor 3rd junior brother, exclaiming in anger, "3 junior brother, you attacked me behind my back." The 3rd junior brother hurriedly wailed, "Big brother, I didn't want to sneak attack you, I was thrown by that kid." Having said that, he suddenly came back to his senses and blurted out angrily, "Big brother, didn't you let us go all out to make a way out? Then why are you turning your back to us? Are you trying to escape?" Lin Yuan was speechless when asked by the 3rd junior brother. He really wanted to escape, but he didn't expect to escape in such a situation. Not only did he not escape, but was also hit so badly. He looked at the 3rd junior brother in pain, and blurted out, "Where am I going to escape? I just want to kill the carbine for that Wade. The third junior brother is not a fool. He looked at Lin Yuan angrily, and roared, "Do you think I am a fool? You have no hands, what do you take to kill the carbine for Wade?" Lin Yuan scolded furiously, "How do you talk to the big brother? Do you want to rebel?" The third junior rushed to bite his ear, and cursed, "Senior brother, actually wants us to flee for you to death, and I will cut your grace from now on." Lin Yuan yelled as he was bitten. But at this time, he is still a master? With his hands abolished and his lower limbs paralyzed, he is now a standard invalid. So at this time, his ear was bitten by the third junior brother, and he was heartbroken, but there was no way. He could only roar hysterically, "You fraudulent, let me go quickly, do you think I want to run? Don't I want to leave a seed for the 8 of our brothers?" The third junior brother asked angrily, "You shouldn't leave the waste of your arms as waste if you leave the seeds. Isn't it okay to leave me?" Lin Yuan was bitten and shouted, "You fraudulent, now you still say who to keep, do you think you can run away?" Third junior brother said angrily, "How do you know that I can't run away?" At this moment, Charlie's cold voice came over, "You should listen to your senior brother. Your senior brother is right. You can't run away at all, none of you can run away." The third junior brother released his mouth subconsciously and raised his head to look at Charlie. At this time Charlie had already come to the 2 of them. And the other 6 people of the 8 heavenly kings all were on the ground and howled. It turned out that at the time when their senior brothers were pinching each other, Charlie had already abolished their other senior brothers. Lin Yuan paled with fright, and cried, "Mr. Wade, I am already a cripple, please have mercy on me and spare me the life of a dog." Charlie smiled and said, "You attacked me just now with the intention of taking my life. You really want me to spare you now? Am I such a bully?" Lin Yuan wailed loudly and said, "Mr. Wade, you are a real master, and a real master will certainly not be as knowledgeable as me. You see that I have reached the point where I am now, so please raise your hand and let me go." Charlie smiled slightly and said, "Lin Yuan, since the moment your brothers boarded the plane to Chenbai Mountain, your lifelong destination has been determined. After all," he pointed to the surrounding Chenbai Mountains and said with a smile, "Don't you think that Chenbai Mountain is a treasure of geomantic omen? Don't you think it is a blessing to be able to die here and sleep here?" "No. I don't think." Lin Yuan's tears and snot flowed, "Mr. Wade, I haven't lived enough yet, I really don't want to die. If you kill me like ants will dirty your noble hands only, so please forgive me." Charlie smiled and said, "Of course I will not kill you myself, because you are not worthy." After speaking, Charlie looked around for a week and sneered, "The 8 of you are not worthy of me to kill you personally." The 8 heavenly kings were all horrified. Everyone asks themselves a question in their hearts, Charlie is only one person, but Charlie is not going to kill them himself, so what exactly is Charlie going to do to them? In other words, how did Charlie want them to die? Charlie stood in the middle of the 8 people, raised his hands, and shouted, "Chenbai Mountain is a sacred mountain, a holy mountain, snow all year round, holy and flawless, you 8 filthy people, can die here, it is you who cultivated for 8 lifetimes." After that, Charlie said again, "And I am going to send you a holy funeral today." Let your dirty corpses sleep in the white snow." Everyone in the 8 great heavenly kings trembled with fright. They still didn't understand, still couldn't figure out how Charlie would kill them. Charlie looked at everyone with pity at this time, and said with a smile, "You all belong to the brothers, even if you do evil, you will do it together. When you die, you can die together, and you can count as a companion on death road." After speaking, he beckoned to the 8 people and smiled, "Your senior brother is already unable to move, so please work hard for the other people to move closer to him. If you want to die together, then just hug before you die. If you don't want to die together, you can spread out a little bit further. I will give you the last minute to prepare." When the 8 great heavenly kings heard this, they were desperate, but at the same time they were really unwilling. They walked alone on death road. So Lion, the first Iron Fist to be dethroned, struggled to stand up, dragging his badly injured body, slowly came to Lin Yuan and sat down. The moment he sat down, he wept bitterly and said, "Big brother has known you and my 8 brothers today, it is better not to enter the world." The others also crawled over with difficulty at this time. The 8 people hugged each other tightly, and the others had already forgiven the move that Lin Yuan had planned to escape by himself. Because except for the moment just now, their big brother has really taken care of them for so many years. More importantly, today, 8 senior brothers are all going to die here. At the last moment, what prejudices they can't let go. Seeing the 8 people hugging each other, Charlie nodded and smiled coldly, "I will let you 8 brothers today. Before that, see a real miracle." After all, he held the thundering ling with one hand to the sky. The thunder made the whole body glow with a faint blue light, which was stunned. At this moment, they only heard Charlie yelling between the world, "Thunder! Come on!" With the thunder, the originally clear night sky was suddenly covered with clouds. The thunder that only happened in summer rang loudly in this night of -10s of degrees. Lin Yuan and others trembled in shock. What magical power is this? Can the sky be attracted with one hand? Immediately afterwards, they saw a huge flash of thunder and lightning in the sky, which struck it down with a click. Lin Yuan shouted with all his strength, "This person can summon the sky thunder! This person is a god! This person is a god!" As soon as the voice fell, the huge lightning thundered, covering the thick snow all year round above the mountain road. Immediately afterwards, 10,000 tons of snow began to rumble down the hillside. It was an avalanche. Moreover, this avalanche came straight to Charlie and the 8 heavenly kings. The 8 heavenly kings almost fainted with fright. Isaac, Orville, Liang, and others also shouted in fright, "Mr. Wade! Danger!" Charlie smiled indifferently, and said loudly, "Wait, listen carefully, I am the real dragon Charlie. Today, I take the purest things from heaven and earth, water and other filthy bodies. In the next life, reborn as a good person." As soon as the voice fell, 10,000 tons of snow fell, instantly engulfing him, the 8 heavenly kings, and the 2 off-road vehicles. 10,000 tons of snow rushed to the valley in one breath. Isaac and the others were shocked, and after the avalanche was over, they looked in the direction where Charlie was originally. Where there was a mountain road. The rest is nothing but snow. And those 2 off-road vehicles, and everyone, have completely disappeared. At this time, the dark clouds that were originally densely covered by Charlie have dispersed, and a white fish belly has appeared on the horizon. It was dawn. The three of them yelled in panic, "Mr. Wade! Mr. Wade!" As dawn broke in the sky, the golden morning light of the east spilled over the earth, and the three of them suddenly saw that a man who refracted golden light came out of the collapsed snowdrift. The man is steady, light-footed, and has a firm expression on his face. It is Charlie, Mr. Wade. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.